Hello, everybody. My name is James Martinez. I'm a media ecologist, and I'm most well known for being one of the original NK for whistleblowers. I was a working colleague of the late Walter Bowart, who wrote the original 1978 version of Operation Mind Control, and I worked with him until his departure and took over his work. And I'm most well known for that, as well as my interfacing with a lot of governments and government employees and people inside the, shall we say, national security area that determine what and how they're going to deal with public. So it's kind of a brief overview. I mean, it's way more than that, but I hope that helps you out. Involved with a lot of the people behind the scenes here in the United States because of what's getting ready to happen. I'm basically, I have not been in the press or talking in radio or doing anything like that for quite some time because previously when I was in radio and doing a lot of personal experiences and private meetings with people regarding what was going on, I took a break from all of that and did some other things that were quite historical because of what's going on behind the scenes, which people really do not have a clue what has been done to them. I'm kind of the guy that comes in to help people unlearn what they've learned. Kind of like the same job as somebody that goes in and does deprogramming for cults. That's the easiest way I can put it because what's happened is essentially a very long-term game plan of shaping human perception, controlling culture, basically hypnotizing through the technological environments a position of where we are today, which is basically kind of a somnambulistic sleepwalking state of people that have almost essentially relinquished their rights as sovereign beings. Literally, this is a spiritual issue at the heart of the matter. Let me just first say to everybody in Australia, you are not alone.
Yep.
I am absolutely disgusted and horrified what I've seen over there.
Yep.
I am very concerned. I have friends all over the place there.
Yep.
Very concerned. They have children. They're on budgets, all the normal things, the daily life they have to take care of in society. I'm very well aware of what is going on over there. And I'm also very well aware that they've recently reached out to colleagues of mine that I know in an SOS, like help us, we're in trouble, a very sincere cry out for help. And that's come over the media environments here for about a month or so because it's escalated badly.
Yeah.
But I have to say to everybody in Australia, because I'm just going straight to that first, because as far as I'm concerned, the whole world should be looking at you because of the fact you've got authority versus truth clashing.
Yep.
And the problem has been weakened by what's been done to them over a long period of time. So I'm here in support of all my friends over there in Australia that are taking this abuse. Everybody's watching, everybody knows, and the good part that I can bring to the table here, which is another important thing, is this is really going to unify the world for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I assure you of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in private meetings behind the scenes with people.
Yeah.
Do not think for 1 second there is not some counteraction going on behind the scenes, because I know the enemy, as do other people. And let me tell you something. These people mostly are weak, disconnected, failed humans. It's difficult to describe to a normal person how these people think about you. And I want to start off with all of that first, because I don't want people to think that I'm just talking about what's going on here in the US. We've got to temporarily suspend all our boundaries of self. I'm connected to you. You're connected to me. We're all unified as one people under this issue right now. We have tactical advantage. Very important to know that. Even though a lot of people over there don't feel that, you have to get out of your comfort zone or you're not going to make it. You won't make it, because this is it. This is the big moment in human history. And the setup prior to this, why you contacted me, is because they weaken you. These people have no interest in your spiritual strength or you even being here on the planet anymore. I mean, I got involved with Walter Bowart because I was the missing piece of a very, very, very important subject matter in the field of behavior modification or mind control. And that is the missing link having to do with the UFO abduction phenomena, which is now being used against the public to prepare them for an invisible enemy that doesn't exist. As everything falls to pieces. So the reason I was brought into Walter Bowart's camp is because I realized how they were faking these abductions to discredit the real abductions, because there's a much bigger game going on, and I have to address it. Otherwise, I'm not being honest and truthful, because the military-industrial complex and the people that have done this to us population, but more importantly, I heard all the plans, which seems like total science fiction at that point in 1990, when I heard that they were going to reshape and divide the country into basically a psychological warfare situation where hostility would be amplified and presented and encouraged in most cases to get us into this position. So I have a lot to say on the matter, because ultimately, there's a saying I say here in the US, it's not how you play the game, it's how you place the blame. And the real person you have to blame for it is yourself. Because this includes me too, because I'm not, personalizing on anybody specifically. People are not involved with their local legislatures. They kind of let somebody else take care of it. And those days are over. You have to get involved locally with all your local police. You have to find out what do people stand for? Who are they? What do they know? What don't they know?
Well,
I heard you say about the cognitive dissonance. And that is very bothersome to a lot of people, because the person that's the messenger, such as yourself, they get angry with you because you altered their perception for a minuscule amount of time. And they flip back and then respond in anger to you personally, without listening to what the content of your message really was and where that is derived from. Because ultimately, perception is a gamble. It's always a gamble. And people's consciousness at this current state where we are in our evolution has been altered dramatically. Your children that have been in front of iPhones, they don't operate like you. Their brains are different. Their central nervous system is different. Their programming is different. Their emotions are different. All of this was planned very long time ago.
that's what's alarming to me when you see now one of the words that they're using is stay safe. And it's everywhere. It's like it's on our phones now on the network.
Yeah, they're commanding.
Like hashtag stay safe. It's like stay safe, stay safe, stay safe.
Let's do the first thing, the most important thing, which they did, which was brilliant. Let's just get it over with. Everybody in Australia and everywhere that hears this, stop. For those uninitiated, ignorant people out there that don't have a clue, as soon as you use a word that and you start controlling the language, you control the imagery. And most people have heard of it, and they immediately put a picture up into their forebrain. Oh, this is supposed to be medicine that helps me not get a disease. And that's the basic imagery that us civilians that are not doctors get when that word is brought up, because we've all heard it at some point in our life. So they label deceiving everybody all over the world by design, and then looped all of that language in all the media environments here. People have to understand that you control a nation by controlling its language, its syntax, its rhythm, its display, all of that. You have to really understand the communication sciences. And I would always suggest if you really, really want to take a serious look at it, you're going to have to be flexible with your perception and study the works of the late Marshall McLuhan, because Marshall McLuhan is the missing piece of apparatus that was used by all the intelligence agencies post-World War II, kind of when all the Bilderbergers were meeting. Marshall McLuhan met with the Bilderbergs. The people that are controlling and operating this whole thing against us are made up of all the international banking cartels, royal families, and the people that have moved civilization for the past 1,000, 2,000 years. They've stolen all the money, they've faked everything, and they live in a completely separate
reality,
parallel civilization that's hundreds of years ahead of everybody. Part of the main things that I need to tell you is that when we went public without all of this, we had a board of advisors with some of the top people in history. Colonel Fletcher Prouty was on our board of advisors. He ran all JFK's black operations for the Pentagon, White House, everybody. He was on our board of advisors. We had Colonel Thomas Bearden, one of the preeminent scientists. All these people knew that they were going to be manufacturing and conditioning people to get in the position where we're at now, where we're so suggestible and so weak-willed that we just step right into this without questioning authority at all.
So what is it? If it's not the big V, what is it exactly?
You have to, anything that I do in the future in any live media or something is force the conversation inward. Because you're not, nobody's helping anybody if you're just moving information from A to B. You have to force the information inward so that the audience is participating in this, because ultimately, if you cannot see outside of the reality that they've given you, we've got to pattern interrupt all of that. The same way when somebody is sitting in a movie theater, and they're sitting in a movie theater and the movie's running, they're in deep hypnotic trance states by consent. And if you take a bunch of ice water and pour it on their head while they're in that, they're going to go into a state of a shock, and then the whole central nervous system changes. And then at that particular point, there's a small amount of time to insert new information that will stay with the person. This is behavior modification 101. And people need to get out of their trances. People spend so much time in front of screens today. Most people's day is in front of one of these now. That's not reality. even though people are pushing more and more to make that a dominant force in people's life. You have to totally untangle all the human navigation systems before you can even attempt to understand what has been done to you and the Australians and everywhere else in the world by making people doing this. I mean, think about this for just a second. When the internet first came out, the first thing it did was extend the nervous system outward because the effect of instantaneousness. As soon as that effect came in, it changed communications, it changed money, it changed transport, it changed everything overnight. Because right after that, the people that it did that got into information moving business, money transmitters, information transmitters. They set it all up and planned all that behind the scenes before we fell into that and started putting ourselves into the internet. This is the Matrix. They did that to people on purpose. And it's in order to get to a new place of where you can take your power back, you have to be honest with yourself on where your perception's at. Where are they at? Most people, are you watching the news or are you listening to the news? There's a difference because the communication says two different things.
Most people,
you have to look at all these things.
Most people just walk through the door and just turn it on because coincidentally, a lot of people work a 9 to 5, and as soon as you walk through the door, 6 o'clock news is on. And a lot of people are in that program where it's like, as soon as they walk through the door, they grab the remote, they turn the TV on, and then they do all the things around the house that they need to do, but they can hear it in the background. So it's like they're just projecting trigger words. It's either climate, cases, terror. It's always this state of emergency. It's panic. So they're always constantly projecting it, So, whether people are sitting there watching it or whether they're hearing it, it's coming to them the moment that they walk in the house at night. And then it's also when they hop in the car and turn that radio on, because then it's following that story. And it's like, it's, did you get that? Was that you?
Yeah, that was a hiccup in Android.
We're like when you were talking, you sent me so deep, and I'm tuning in, and then that happened, and I'm like, hang on, where am I? I'm just like,
no, that's good. It's good because we're going through all these lenses.
Yeah. So and then people hop in the car. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me yesterday, and then I'll tell you about something else. But me and my mother were in a restaurant and we were having a conversation, and I was trying to give her all this information about what's happening in the world to just waken her up and say, look, you've got to see what's happening. Like, we are under attack here. This is psychological warfare. This is human suppression. They're doing this deliberately, and we are under attack. That's it. While people are pointing the blame and we are under attack here. And I've been saying this to people for over 12 months through my Instagram, everywhere. Like, get a plan B and prepare, because, yes, like Australia is a stage and it's happening here first. And this is the model for the rest of the world. Like, this is, This, people are saying, could this be the Fourth Reich? Is this all these things? And this is the new biological warfare, psychological warfare. This is World War III that we are actually facing, right? That's it. They're shutting us down. They're weakening us. They're chopping our legs off, their arms off. They're weakening. They're tying our hands behind our backs. So in the long-term game, because we're almost 2 years in on this, right? But this whole thing has been going on for 20 plus years with the incrementations of the little trigger words and the, all of this other stuff and all the theater that's being projected around the world. So anyway, so I'm breaking this down with my mum, trying to tell her to be on alert and don't fall into it. And we're having this conversation, and in our space, I'm going to call it convid so we don't get pulled on using the word, but convid was not in our reality. And I'm saying to my mum, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's being projected, and we're following to it. Next minute, my stepdad rolls on up, and he sits down at the table, and then we know it's someone else in the restaurant, and then they come over, and then they start talking. So me and my mum are in this reality here that exists right now in the present moment. My stepdad's come in, and then this other lady's come in, and they started talking about the big C. right? Oh, this is happening, da 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 da. And they brought it into our space because my stepdad had been in the car all day listening to the radio, you know. So he's brought the projection to this table and brought the big C into our world. And my mum is just like, her eyes have lit up and she's like, oh, wow. Because I'd literally just sat there for an hour explaining the whole thing to her. And it's like there. And I'm like, this is scary because this has been projected to everybody, and everybody here in Australia, not everybody, but a large percentage, are stuck under this illusion, this narrative, this hypnotic spell, and they're rolling with it to the point of where they're steering to the solution, the big V that you're saying it's not that. Let's just class it as the experiment. Like, people are going for that solution thinking that this is going to get them out of it, but it's just really stealing their fucking soul, you know? And
that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, this is just sort of the beginning to say, but one thing that happened to me yesterday as well, which was just like, it just blew my mind. I went it's probably about 2 hours away from my local area. And realistically, we're not allowed out within 5-10 kilometers because we're under a lockdown. But I had to go and check a place out. But I went through a drive-through window, and the checkout person that took my order, you know, was wearing the mask, and, you know, we're out in the country. Anyway, he's told me that I need my mask to sit in the car to place my order. I'm trying to say to this guy, I'm talking to you to place my order. I don't need one. Yeah, you do, or I can't serve you, you know, and he's carrying on. I said, listen, number one, I'm not infectious. Okay. Number two, there's no COVID here in my car. It's not in my car. I never brought it with me. Right. Like, and I'm just saying this, and he's like, he started to panic. And he's like, he doesn't know what to do because I am that first person that's come through that drive-through window that's challenged because he's all muzzled up. He's believing that all of this, and like, I said, dude, listen, I will not be suppressed. We are under attack. This is psychological warfare. And James, he like went in a state of panic. His arm was shaking as he was like completing the order, and he didn't know what to do with himself. When I took my order and drove off, I said to my friend, I said, see what we just done? I said, we just broke that hologram. We just cracked the matrix.
You have to do the pattern interruption.
Yeah.
Pattern interruption is one of the main things that you do when you start to deprogramming for cults.
Yeah.
Deprogramming for cults is very similar to this.
Yep.
And there's certain methods to get to that. You've got to interrupt the person's pattern because they're running a record.
Yep.
And those records that they've been running on people have been reinforced over basic Skinner box conditioning for a long period of time, where they dangle carrots and
their lifetime
shaming. They do the love bomb first, and they invite you in. Then when they can access all your strengths and weaknesses, then you have people sent in to go in and manipulate those strengths and weaknesses. Then authority figures come in, and then, you know, incentives come in, and the whole thing comes in so that you do it by consent almost. That you almost fall right into it because it's a smooth entrance. And then once you're in, you try getting out. Either the cult programming is reinforced, so you don't want to get out, which is a lot of people. And then, or it's done to a certain point where there's a small little section of an escape method for somebody getting out of a cult, which allows them an override of their voluntary consent. See, they've got to get everybody in a position of receivership. And when you're in a position of receivership, they've already pre-played all that. And most people have not questioned authority for most of their lives. They've taken authority figures to be somehow better than they are. And they're not. They're not better than you are. Do not look up to any of these people. Don't look down, look across. That's where they are. Look them right in the eye. They know what they are doing. One of the most important things that I see over there is this unbelievably gaslighting, like to a new level, like I can't even believe.
Yeah.
Like I walk around the streets there and said, look, get it straight. The sky is red. Okay. It's red. Why? Because I said so. And then, but if you do it with enough force, and if you do it in a collective position where everybody's physiologically tied into the emotion, because the emotion is what's driving gaslighting and the authority figure. Because people don't question authority, they just presume if somebody's in an authoritative position, they're somehow better than you or an expert in some position of that. But your intuition, the original thing that you had when you were born, this is what it's for. You're supposed to be using this and be using have tactical advantage over the people that are doing this. So you've got to question authority. Like I see the videos of people confronting with the police. And when you're confronting with the police, the first thing you want to do is yield. You don't want to clash. You want to engage them, put them in a transderivational search. Most of them that are doing what they're doing were chosen for that specifically, for starters.
You're not scared?
They're dumb. They follow money and they're whores for the job. They don't have any self-esteem per se, and they're put in these positions. So the only way you're going to get through to somebody like that is to interrupt their pattern entirely by engaging them to do some kind of transderivational search that's not rehearsed in their head, because they say the same lines to everybody, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing over and over again. You've got to break these patterns up before you can even inject in anything. Because frankly, they don't want to be doing what they're doing. They don't want to be doing that because they're going to be dead too, and they don't realize it yet. They're just being used like they use everybody. All those police officers, including here, over there, they're getting used. They better pick a side right now. It has nothing to do with status and all to do with spiritual integrity. That's what it's about. It's spiritual integrity.
Yep.
And I know people in Australia are completely conditioned differently. All countries are. You've got to be able to you've got to undo your conditioning and question it. This is your big moment for the whole world is watching. And we know that they're sending the pictures out that they want us to see. I already know, because I know people over there, and I know people that are doing stuff behind the scenes over there. And you've got to examine your own perceptions, because those perceptions that you do have, people behind the scenes as early as the 50s were planning to control your mind and control your perceptions. And they did it over a very, very long period of time. So much so that what's been done to you is completely invisible. Most people are media casualties. They don't even know what's been done to them at all. They just presume like these, these things are their friends. They were not set up for you. They were to enslave you, put you in here.
Yeah. I believe that the technology with all of that and the handheld device now is just, with the algorithms, that it's also, like say, for example, you become what you consume. So I believe that if you're seeking something, that I think that the phones are so connected to us now where they can steer us down the rabbit hole into creating sort of an augmented reality and steering us into sort of what we seek. So it's like, I can go down this rabbit hole of doom and gloom. Like I've seen all the stuff that's happening through Australia with the police brutality. And I tell you, it's not nice. Okay. But this is where the trap is, like we went through a military checkpoint yesterday. And then I also ended up getting 500, probably about 400 kilometers out. I took a wrong turn and I went through a little police RBT and I ended up getting done because we're not meant to be past 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. I ended up having an altercation with the police myself yesterday. And, going down the rabbit hole and seeing what the police are doing, you could think that is going to be what the police are exactly doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you've created that own world. So if you feed it, unless you unplug, because the design of it is also to suck you in, take your energy. Yeah. So you've got to have this awareness to it. So I've been trying to unplug from that, and shift the collective, because at the same time it's steering the collective down that path. But yeah, yesterday, I was rattled a little bit by these two police officers, but I got separated and sent across the road to deal with this other officer. And I asked him some questions which rattled him because I said to him, you know, and I know like it's like just disturbing what he sort of believes to make him think and to break the program. And all I said to him was, I said, can I ask you a question? And he said, yeah, what's that? And I said, look, let's say that we're under attack, which we are. Okay. We're in a state of emergency. It's a pandemic to say, and we're under attack. Like it's a public health order, da, 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 da. I would have thought that it's your job to help me and assist me to make sure I'm okay, knock on my door and say, are you okay, sir, in this like hardship time, because people are losing their job, people are fucking not having any money, da da da. I said, but that when that officer walked away from my car, he, with excitement, said, ha ha ha, I'm going to give you a lot of fines, you know, like, hang on a minute. What, like, number one, what have I done? You know, and I'm like, he's parading that he's going to give me fines, but you guys should be helping me, not trying to, what if I've lost my job throughout this pandemic? What if I'm homeless? What if I'm all these things? You could give me $5,000 worth of fines and you're going to be jolly about it and all excited. I said, so isn't it your job to do that? And as soon as I presented that info, like that question with him, he just got so aggressive and he goes, well, I'm an officer of 35 years and I chose to do this and I'm just abiding by the law. It's the law. And he started to raise his voice and get so argumentative. And he tried to grab me and take me into this sort of this, it would have been a snowball where I wouldn't have been able to get out, where he tried to take me. And I kept coming back from the conversation to say, I've asked the question, that's it, you know, and it went on. And when I didn't follow him with the conversation so he could take that control, he then paraded and then he started calling me. He asked me if I was vaccinated. I said no. He called me an anti-vaxxer. And then he yelled to the other officer on the other side of the road. He goes, he's not vaccinated. He's an anti-vaxxer. And they just started this whole parading and like they just sort of ganged up. And I just knew, you know, because I seen everything on the street, people getting shot with rubber bullets, spear tackled, bloody head paint. I'm like, get out of it, get out of it, get out of it, get out of it, play dumb, and just, you know, and yeah, it's in full effect. The police officer yesterday turned against me because of the media programming, the subliminal programming, and yeah, it is so scary that it's happening right here in front of us, and people aren't aware of it.
I know. When I found out in 1990 the plan of how they were going to do it, I really, at that time, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think the populations would be so degraded and demoralized and weak as to be in a position where they would do this. So I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes in learning the technology, but I didn't want to, and I was warned by many people not to make a career out of, you know, being the guy that talks about mind control, unless I was going to only offer solutions to do so. Otherwise, it's a waste of fucking time to talk about because it's too late for most people. It's just too late. I've had lots of meetings with people. I just got back from out of state where I was meeting with influential, some government people. And everyone agrees that if you, the individual person, whoever's listening to this, doesn't get what the fuck is going on right now, it's too late. It's too late. Because you have to unlearn so much stuff. You've got to get rid of all your biases. You've got to literally suspend all your knowledge and admit to the fact that you've been fucking played hard. It's your own goddamn fault for being in this position. And that's it, because there are many, many, many people that were telling the public. We were in terms of mind control and child abuse, we were the first really to prove that they were using these technologies and they were operational, hence the word Operation Mind Control. It was active, they were using it, and they were using it to shape culture, make it a much bigger functioning type of weaponry where they can control people and then at the same time have them go against each other over long periods of time. And then using technology to further divide people, weaken them, and disinform them over long periods of time. Because I hold responsible this country here, America. We are responsible for all this shit. And we're the ones that are supposed to be fixing it. And frankly, between you and I at this particular time today and this date, we haven't done jack shit enough here to really deal with the power of speech. Nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been arrested. They run around doing whatever they want to do, and then nobody gets arrested because the whole system is broken, it's totally corrupted, and it's all blackmailed. Everybody in positions of power are all blackmailed. That's how they've done it. That's how they've gotten control and how they've gotten people to be so obedient when they know what they're doing and they know they're committing genocide and they know that they're depopulating and they know that they don't need you anymore. You're not part of the workforce. They don't have any use for you. They're bringing out robots. They've got all the technology you could ever dream of to fix everything. You're not invited to this party. This has been planned for, it's in the scriptures. We foretold it. We told a lot of people and warned people. I mean, they think I don't know the numbers of people, how many people have died, because I don't listen to the numbers, but 80,000 children go missing in the United States, and that was in 1990. 80,000. And nobody says a word. Nobody says a word about the 80,000 that are missing, ever. Because nobody sees it and nobody reads it and nobody's unaware. But those 80,000 that go missing, they don't just go missing, they're put into circulation to feed the army that has powers over you. This is a really ugly subject, but it has to be dealt with, and people have they've got to stop putting their head in the sand and thinking. Like in Australia is horrible, fully operational there, and most of your people in positions of power, they're all compromised. Yeah. All compromised.
Well, there's some stuff that's coming out.
They think they're getting deals to get out of this.
Yeah.
They'll be, as soon as they're done with, they'll be killed and burned to the sides too. This is a small amount of people that at the very top, they're using all their heads of states and pawns in this game. And once they're done with them, they're going to be dead too. They don't even realize it. So,
well, there's some stuff. There's some stuff that's coming out now where there's like the politicians, I think there's 26 politicians or a number around that, maybe 28. And they've got like a gag order, like a suppression order, where they can't speak about these 26 or 28 politicians for like 90 years that are involved in these starting to come out now, and a lot more people are coming out now speaking about all these underground tunnels.
Those people in those positions, they're the ones that are ruling. They've been ruling for a long time. Long time. I mentioned it. We in 78 we knew about it. We met with Ted Gunderson, who was the guy that was one of the big researchers and reporters with the FBI about the Franklin cover-up, which was the big. We thought at that point, okay, now everybody knows that all the politicians and heads of state, they're in pimping, snuff, every nasty thing you can think of. And then they use those tools to access higher levels of power and influence by blackmail and coercion. There's a lot of people that have been blackmailed, but they get set up. That's happening all over the place, and their lives are over.
Yeah. Well, if you go and look at like just the whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein, right? So you go and just look at all the photographs you've seen of that guy going into the 90s, with Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew and all these things. Like you kind of see that, like you see that all of those photos and all those dealings with all those leaders is all to do with now as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, if people say that it doesn't exist, well, then how can you sort of like, well, then who was Jeffrey Epstein? Like, you know what Jeffrey Epstein done and what he was doing, and can't you put it together? And it's like, there's just that wall there where like all people need to do is just push it to the side to see it, but people just can't see it and they won't accept it because
they need to look up and understand what NAMBLA is, the National Association of Boy Man Love. NAMBLA. It's online. They have their own website. These guys are professional hunters. Literally. Hunters sounds like an exaggerated word, but it's not, because that's exactly what they do. Yeah, I could pull the Band-Aid off, so to speak, and just get in all the gruesome details, but I don't want to. I've had to in some cases, but the stuff that these guys are involved with, it's, you bring that type of information up to the normal person, you usually just get them.
They won't accept it. Yeah. And a lot,
and a lot what to do.
Yeah. And a lot of that is because it's sort of been normalized through mainstream, because mainstream uses specific words. So say, for example, they were to interview Gates, right? And they ask Gates, oh, what was your dealings with Epstein? Like they use words like there's been claims, like,
right.
Good.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Allegedly. That's the buzzword over here. Allegedly.
And like allegations and stuff like that. Like, and it's just instantly
they code the language.
Yeah.
They know it's a lawsuit.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny with the language too, just to kind of skip a little bit here, but with what, with the police brutality and stuff like that, like with some of the stuff that happened in Victoria the other week with the police, like the media also called the people that were standing up against like with an Australian flag, the media projected it and then called them sort of neo-Nazis, so it's like you can hear the language in the words, but I just thought I'd quickly throw that in, just change topic just quickly.
No, that's good that you brought it up.
Yeah. But like, it's happening not just with that, but it's like they're trying to shut it down everywhere, where it's like they come full circle
they
back.
Can't control it. Yeah. They didn't realize that, it's going to be billions of people are going to realize this whole thing is a crock of shit. And then they're going to have 8 billion people that are pissed. And I am.
How do they clean it up?
With 8 billion angry people, if they think they're going to get away with this unscathed, not going to happen. This
is where I see the whole shift into whether they cover it up with a war, because it seems like they've always done that in the past. This is what scares me the most, because it's like they've already set the stage by calling Trump a Nazi, sure, that he is the equivalent. So they've already said it. Like, if this doesn't work, domestic terrorists in America, those that support him, MAGA movement, those with the flag. So they've got to.
Yours truly is a terrorist now, by the way, because I've questioned authority and I've showed up at various marches. Therefore, I'm a terrorist. For speaking my mind, following the Constitution, having a right to free will, of free speech, and all of it. Everybody who's trying to help out now is being labeled as a terrorist. People that are getting uninjected here are now.
Just cut out.
One of the things I will be doing in the press, working on it right now, and that's going to be released. Millions will hear it. Millions. So, and it's going to be done the same way provocateurs come in and alter narratives in the news. I've been involved when they've been doing that on the ground. For some things, I've been involved with operations. I've been involved with large scale events where thousands of people are protesting, and I've seen professionals come in and try and change the direction of the crowd and story, and it's all filmed and shot up. There's actors. I mean, they're doing theater and playing game on people so badly. I can't, but I'm just amazed here in the U.S. Even people here in the U.S. here, they're truly pathetic.
Yeah. Well, there was one here that was called
in their so-called courage.
Yeah. Yeah, for believing it, true, And it's like, it's funny because like you're seeing what Hollywood can create. So why can't people accept, well, if Hollywood can create it, why can't mainstream media create it,
Hello.
And yeah, and we caught not we, but the people caught a crisis actor, agent provocateur on camera throughout the protests, which was just a freedom protest. But you see this agent in black standing with the police. Then you see a video of the same agent running through the crowds and targeting the police. And man, they must have been high level, like combat skills from what they did. Like they literally just dismantled
these people are professionals.
6 police officers just went one, boom, boom, boom. And it was through the crowd, but it was on camera too. So it looked like that was a part of the Freedom March, but it wasn't. It was an agent. It's happening here in Australia, for God's sake, Yeah, it's happening in Australia, like you hear about it in America.
They're professionals. This is when you go and invade a country. These are time-tested techniques for invasion of a country is when they start doing that to alter its basic psychological warfare operations on a country when you invade it. And that's what they're doing.
That's what's
playing
scary.
Everybody. Everybody's getting played so badly.
You don't even know who the real enemy is.
That's correct. They don't really know who the real enemy is. And the enemy, you'll never see them, but the enemy is the people, the consortium of banks and families that have decided to end humanity.
Do you reckon they'll succeed? You're right, they'll succeed.
So they think. Yeah. Because we're no longer of any use to them. They don't need us anymore. And where they're at technologically, they're going to shame everybody and have deep psychological programming in shaming people. And then also what you're going to see very soon, it's already started here in the US, is the encouragement of suicide. They're going to encourage people to suicide here. They're going to make it fashionable. They're going to tell people that they're going to alter the death process and make it convenient. And hospital beds will turn into coffins. And the whole process of death itself is going to be it'll be turned into a form of soft but dark entertainment. That's what the plan is here, because they've got to encourage people to have no hope, have no future, not want to be part of the massive death that's happening. So, I'm already seeing the beginnings of the programming here, but there's also going to be a counter to that as well. That's what they're going to be doing to try and depress you and break your spirit. And I'm not watching Australian television, but I can almost guarantee that the current position they're in now, they're going to start shaming people and do very, very sophisticated, heavy shaming the public for just existing, for protesting, for wanting to have freedom of choice over their body, like all that stuff, because world government now is being beta tested in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're using fractionalization to see what and who will respond with violence, with silence, will just roll over. All of that is being taken into account. They got all the numbers and everything. They're watching all the video. They're seeing what works and what doesn't work to get everybody to be subservient there. And they're very, 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 very smart. And these orders are coming from people higher than your heads of state there, prime ministers or anything, because they're all blackmailed anyway.
Yeah, no, compromised. Well, our premier just had to step down and resign on Friday because she's under investigation for some stuff. And I mean, the other leader in Melbourne, Dan Andrews, like he's heavily compromised. 2019, he was going over to Beijing to do some deals, and you don't know what he's doing, but why is the Victorian leader doing deals with the same country where this big V come from, and then next minute they turn on the police and then increase sort of the, like they've even give the police force now permission to lock you in your apartment. And if you look at,
like if
you look at what they've done,
they've made the prisons already. It's your house. It's
exactly.
Your room.
Yeah.
And you will enjoy it. And that's what they're doing. And they're breaking it all down in front of everybody. I'm just so concerned. I know they're angry and they're doing all that other stuff, but there's got to be those big crowds. You can do way more interesting things when you have that amount of people with the same goal. A lot of things. And some of that has to do with the language that you use and how you present yourself when you're approached by authority. See, they always come dressed in black. If 10,000 people showed up dressed in white and didn't talk, they'd be heard more than if they were screaming and yelling, because of the silence would be deafening. There's all sorts of things you can play games with these people, and they're going to get really upset. See, they're confident. They're cocky. They're confident. They've never been beaten before. They've got all the money in tech, and they're counting on you to fail. I don't want anybody in Australia to fail. I don't want anybody. I've had enough of all of these people. Known about it for a long time. I've had to wrestle with the fact if I wanted to come out in public again and start talking about this. But now I realize now that it's going to be up to the public. They're going to be the deciding factor of all actions that take place in the future, including the military. So group dynamics, communications, handling information, how much media consumption are you taking in a day? Where is it coming from? Who are you talking to?
Community.
Are you attacking people or countering at a local level? Because I'm not sure specifically how culture works in Australia, but here you're seeing all of local government are being accounted for. What do they stand for? What are they doing? People are screaming at city council here. They're going absolutely crazy. And this is interrupting the patterns of people. They've never seen people respond this way because it's emotion that moves. Emotion that language. If you move the emotion and the language in a directed right way with the right language, then you're going to make progress, but not until such time. Because these people that are doing this, they're using sophisticated electronics, EMF, they're using your phones, they're using the electric bandwidth in your house, they're using all those things control mood, tempo, food, sleep, self-preservation, heart rate, appetite, sexual activity, everything. And they've been planning and using these weapons and testing these weapons out in various wars. 5G originally was used as a weapon in Desert Storm. They used 5G as a weapon to alter mood of the enemy before they moved in.
I can feel that all the towers have gone up here, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's what's like our area estates, like if there's sort of like a hologram to say that's sort of just a hologram of 5G that's keeping us in this frequency just to make us think that this static is real about the convert to make us comply and, go and get tested, go and get jabbed, hashtag stay vax, like it's stay safe. Like it's doing it, and the 5G, like we've just been so distracted and not even pay attention to it. And I feel it. Yeah. Like I feel getting rattled by it. Like I can sense it because I'm not a part of that matrix. Like I'm not a part of the projection. And it's like it's affecting me. I want to get out of the cities. I need to get out as far as I can because it's definitely starting to get to me.
I would do that. I've got many people that I know.
Yeah.
Many people I know, they're out.
Yeah.
Some of them are on the water. Some of them are underground. Some of them are in just away from civilization in general.
Well, it's going to collapse here, I believe. We're going to
collapse.
Yeah.
They want it to collapse.
Yeah, I know.
But they really want to see what they can get away with.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because China's right there next to you,
I know.
you're geographically the ones to first go down. So it's important that people realize the truth about what's really going on. I mean, I don't know what to say. And if I were to talk in front of 10,000 people, I know exactly what to say. But when I'm talking to you, I cannot get the full feeling of the equation over there because obviously it's bias. I see certain pictures and I don't see the whole of the situation over there. I want to speak to the Australian people, myself as an outsider, because I've been quite successful in overthrowing somebody's ideological hierarchy and belief system. I know how to do it, but I do it to save people from themselves. I don't do it for money. I don't do any of that stuff. All sorts of stuff behind the scenes that I know the enemy. And they're very sophisticated, but they're all very flawed because most people don't understand that the ruling hierarchy are inbred, abused, manufactured humans. And when they've been that infused and that abused, sexual abuse at the highest levels of power is like having coffee in the morning. Sad to say. It's a normal part of the routine. And some of the people that are involved directly, you deal with the public. Like I always give the example of the most obvious, and a lot of my colleagues are aware of this, and psychologists and psychiatrists that I speak to, is this man, Barry Soetoro. Barry Soetoro is the real name of Barack Obama, who was raised by a transsexual, a black father who was Frank Marshall Davis, and his white mother. So he grew up in an interracial family, was abused as a young child by a transsexual, and was broken way before you or I ever heard about him. And it's exactly those type of people that you can compartmentalize an identity and condition into literally having a walking Manchurian candidate that walks, talks, and chews gum, and is very nice to everybody, and smiles and kisses babies, and compartmentalize that behavior and then put it out on the world stage. And these are a lot of your public employees are compartmentalized that from child abuse. And one of the things is the effects of child abuse is to be able to create a person like that is obedient, that because he loathes black people, he hates black people, he has zero or little empathy whatsoever. His real personality that you see on TV is highly compartmentalized. It's not real at all. I don't think the normal person, even if they had the chance to meet could meet with the core personality. It's been almost destroyed. I think younger Barry, I think he can be found. I would have to meet with him privately and probably go into an altered state with him, because he can't be himself because he's been broken so badly. And now, he pair bonded with a man and got together with a man. And people in the intelligence community and the government know the guy is bisexual, gay, and has been for a long time. But they wanted that type of person in there, controlled. And he is like the Rolls Royce version of somebody that's not even real. He appears to be real. He says all the right things for the bankers and everything, but that's not the real guy. So you have a whole section of leadership that people see all over the world. And these people are all broken, failed males and females. They've been abused. And one of the effects of abuse, because this is the most important part, is the abused will abuse. Guaranteed. It's part of the mechanism when the central nervous system is ruptured, it snaps in half, the brain goes into red alert, and the brain protects itself from the trauma that it just had. And it literally snaps in half. It's circuitry inside the synaptic jumps between dendrites that determine the choices of a linear personality. When that's busted up, you have fractured people. And then when the fracturing takes place, then you have people that one of the effects of it is non-empathy.
Yep.
Non-empathy.
Well, that's like our leaders.
They don't give a shit if you're living or dying in front of them. It's over there. It's not, because they lost the ability to have their own feelings a long time ago. So years later, this is what you get. You get authoritarian, control freak assholes who fucking run the world. That's what you get. And that is what you get when you cannot protect your children. You cannot protect your children, and they're killing themselves and they're vanishing from the face of the earth. Guarantee the culture is already finished. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened.
Well, I think it's like 5 of the main people we're meant to be speaking to here in advice don't even have their own children. You know, our health minister, Kerry Chant, I think her name is, she has no kids. The Queensland Premier, I don't know if it's her or somebody else, she has no kids. The one that just resigned, she has no kids. And all of them, you look in their eyes, there's no emotion, there's no empathy.
Nothing.
They don't care. And you can see it. And you even see it in Kamala Harris's, you know. You see it in her eyes, you know. And you know what? You said that about Obama. And I don't know how you're doing for time, but I did want to just touch on just 2 things. You just answer them real quick if you're running out of time. But it's funny how you said that about Obama, right? You know, America's first black president was the reignited the black slave industry when they dismantled Libya.
Right.
And
he don't give a damn about black people at all. Black people know that about him. And I know, I just spoke to a gentleman 2 days ago that went to school with him at Harvard. Knows the whole story. Knows the whole story about his whole fake life and what happened to him. I mean, he's a victim, really. A little tiny piece of me has empathy for him because he didn't have a shot in hell. He's a broken, failed male.
Yeah,
That's
he talks well. He talks well. That's it. You know.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And it's funny, you know, like it's funny because when all this broke out last year, you know, with COVID coming out, I just stopped and the last 20 years just flashed over my eyes. I'm like, hang on a minute. Every time there's an American president, there's a chaos, crisis. Bush first term, 9/11, right? Not first term, but first 12 months. In the Bush's second term, you had SARS. 2008 financial crisis. Coincidentally, who's going to save us? Barack Obama, because of his Wall Street ties. You know, then rolling into Obama's second term, then the announcement of the getting bin Laden, and then what coincidentally happens after that? The rise of ISIS. You know, and coming into 2016, you had sort of Trump's presidency, but there was nothing really on a global scale that happened where you could sort of tie it in together. But you could see coming into 2020 that you know, another chaos in the world was to dismantle the election, you know, to get Biden in, but to sort of point the blame at him. So there was like this pocket where nothing happened for sort of 4 years, you know, in the world where you've seen it in history, you know, all these events take place where it's always election time, you know, and you can see that they're all the puppets, proxy puppets to suit this globalist long-term agenda.
Correct.
I'm here in Australia, man, in a place that's just like I don't know why I pick it up. I see it, you know, I tap into it. Like I feel the break in this sort of the red and blue, the polarity of it, or the duality, I meant to say. But you see these two timelines at play, dark and light, psychological warfare, war on the conscious, war on the human spirit, and then just this playing out, man. And I mean, like, I don't know what I'm tapping into. I don't know what I'm tuning into to be able to see it and unplug. I don't know whether it's because I've just disconnected from it.
You're going through the ascension process.
Well, I hope so. Because
no, you are, because you're aware of it, and your life is at stake.
What do you mean by that?
You're being threatened for existing. Why? Because some people decided to say "fuck you" and get rid of you. It's real simple. It's right in your face. Nobody's going to get out of this. Everybody individually is going to have to face this and decide where they stand, and they're going to have to take their right to exist, the right to be in alliance with their spirit, and their right to be a sovereign individual being. Well, people have to go back to civil rights and human rights in front of this, because this has nothing to do with some health scare. It's basically psychological operations designed to take data on how people respond to crisis and then use the crisis more efficiently as that data is picked up. And Australia is the testing ground for that, as is Israel. Those two places, and England look like it will fall in next, but different cultures will respond differently. The French are my favorite.
They're getting screwed.
I think the French are what all of us should be like all the time, because I think people have forgotten and they gave away their power, and they feel like they don't have any when they actually do. And they have to assert themselves. And remember, the police, you don't work for them, they work for you. The judges, they work for, somebody put these people in power. Here, I blame myself for not doing enough, even though I did try to warn people in a specific way. But I'm not blaming, I know who's doing it, but I'm not blaming them. I'm more.
We've all got choice too. We're choosing some of it as well. It's like what I said earlier about the consuming. Like, I chose to consume all of that and believe that reality. It's like you see a video on the street where a protester and a cop both at wrong, and it's like, well, he chose to go to the event. That officer chose to put the uniform on. Yes, he shot him. Yes, he attacked him. Doesn't matter. It's all choice. You had a choice. You should have stayed at home. That's it. No point increasing the fuel, the rage, the toxicity that's attached to it.
No, that energy, you harness it and redirect it in a different way. Then you'll get different results.
Yeah.
And most people, their initial response, I know, and believe me, I get pissed too, but it's how you use that energy. There's millions of pissed off people in America, millions, but it's all getting ready to explode. It's about at that point, because we're supposed to be land of the free and the home of the brave. Really? No. No. I've not seen it yet. Not from the people that are responsible in key positions of doing the right thing. They're not. I've seen courage and bravery from regular people in the street that got more balls than the cops or lawyers or state legislatures or senators. They got more courage, they got more guts, and they got more will than these morons that we have as elected employees in this country. And it's everyday heroes like yourself that are talking about it, that are observing, that are going around engaging people. That matters, because that's ultimately, there's much better effect of communication when it's done organically, when a person's right in front of you, rather than this shit, even though we have to do this for now. So you go for the small battles first in guerrilla warfare. The everyday people that are around you, work on them first, if you can. If they put up too much resistance or anger, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Because most people intuitively have been, something's knocking on their shoulder, tapping on their shoulder, saying, wait a minute, something's wrong here. People know instinctively.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my friends, I tap him on the shoulder all the time, and I just say to him, is this really happening? Is this really happening? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, man, it's like you said then, you know, you're the hero to sort of get the message out, but it's like, you just can't believe it as well, you know, like, it's just like, it's just so hard to just take in. And like, I used to drink, I haven't drunk for like nearly 3 years now. And, you know, through this, I don't want to say sober, but, you know, sobriety stage, to say like, all of this stuff is coming to me where I can just see more and more and more of the world, and I start to understand it. And it's like, I question it now because I see the real world for what it really is. And I'm like, but has it always been like that? But I was just always drinking, and I couldn't see it for what it was, you know. But it's, you know, just the concept of unplugging from the matrix to see it and get firsthand of it, where, you know, if you don't have the right people around you to get, you know, that community to reassure you and to support you, like you really break. Like, you know, you were saying about they're going to start to allow the acceptance of suicide. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the right support around you and you go through this and you start to unplug from it all, like, you know, you could just enough be enough. But like, in a sense, I'm aware of it happening. Like, I have hope that it will work out. That's why the awakening's happening. That's why all this other stuff is happening. That's why you know, like you say, that you know what's happening in Australia. And luckily for social media and connecting, like, there's a consciousness force that's behind that's showing the people, you know, the information that's needed and to awaken people. So, you know, there is sort of hope, but a lot of people are gonna be impacted with this as well that aren't really paying attention or really aware of it. So it's, it does get quite frightening. But I did just want to ask you.
This is just the beginning.
I know. It's crazy. I did, before we wrap it up though, I did want to just ask you two things. But looking glass technology and also remote viewing. What exactly is remote viewing, and is looking glass technology in use?
Real?
Yeah.
It's been in use off and on under different guises and different names. And I met a gentleman that was involved with it later on, who was recruited as a child into various programs having to do with that subject matter. And it was tied in with him being trained for remote viewing. Remote viewing basically is went through many stages, but it was a response to the Soviet Union's psychic warfare programs, which were way ahead of the United States in the early 70s. So the talent, so to speak, between the Soviets and the United States was a guy named Dr. Andrei Puharich. Dr. Andrei Puharich was a friend of mine. I knew him fairly well because I knew one of his top proteges. The most well-known of those was Uri Geller. I know him as well, but the woman that was the kind of secret behind Uri Geller was a woman by the name of Marianne Shenefield. And she was influential in the development of the remote viewing program, which was put together by the Stanford Research Institute. Hal Puthoff was involved. Dr. Andrei Puharich was involved. Uri Geller was involved. But prior to government spending money to learning these programs, they had to bring in talent that proved that telepathy existed. They already knew it existed, but they wanted to test it fully. And telepathy was a national security issue. It still is now. And I might say this for the most aware initiates out there, that we're in Operation Mind Control. Correct. So Ingo Swann used to say this, and other people agree with it because it's true. And he said, telepathy is the preeminent penetration modality, meaning that it's more effective than any propaganda or the spoken word. In other words, the reason those programs came into being was because of violations and security issues having to do with written information. Because, and when people were tested, when the remote viewing programs were put together, Uri Geller was tested of physical documents inside an envelope from 3,000 miles away while a 4-star general was sitting in his chair. And the answer was yes, he could. And as soon as that issue became relevant, then the government started putting money into the development of remote viewing. And many people who were influential, it begins Ingo Swann, Marion Schoenfeld, Uri Geller, Hal Puthoff, all those people were the made up what became of what today is called remote viewing. But remote viewing it's more of a fine tuning of your natural extrasensory perceptions that you're born with, using the central nervous system to acquire information outside of your conscious awareness, and to do so with 80% accuracy, because there's a good portion of the intelligence layer in the United States which uses that to get information. But this is why I brought it up in the first place, is your leaders out there, they respond to telepathy too. And there was an experiment done many years ago where a colleague of mine was sent to the UN to try and stop a binding agreement, a signature. And there's one person to give it, another person to sign it. The person that was sent in to send a telepathic message to somebody's brain was Uri Geller. And of course, they fell right into what he wished for them to do. And that's an example of telepathy, because most people have been conditioned to think that they aren't receiving messages. And the internal dialogue in their mind is them talking to themselves without realizing they're actually getting telepathic message all the time. It's been happening since you were a child, but most people cancel it out because they don't think it's real. I'm saying that's
telepathy. Yeah, that's telepathy as well, So
yes, that's training.
Yeah,
that's the training mechanism for telepathy, because they're getting everybody ready for that, because they're going to go into your brain now with the chips, and they're going to get everybody ready for that. So it's a training platform. The cell phone was a training platform. DARPA developed it. It was done by some engineers that I know to put your entire body and your central nervous system in coordinated view. So eventually the cell phone and all its technology will put in the body or be connected to the body, similar to what you saw in the Matt Damon movie.
Elysium?
Where he's in the future, about 50 years, and above in the sky is
Elysium.
Yes. You'll notice there that people are chipped, and the central nervous system is behind the ear, in the bone, so that you store data inside the body. Banks, money, information storage.
Oh yes, when he gets that upgrade, that's right. Yeah. When he gets that, after he has that reaction in that nuclear work accident, that's right. They do put that thing in him. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're definitely conditioning the people to end up down that. And I mean, it's funny with the whole, not if it's the same as remote viewing, but a lot of motivational speakers talk about sort of getting in line with your higher self and having intuition and stuff like that. And like Conor McGregor says that he visualized his winnings, so we got that capability of within us to, as long as we remove all this distraction in the 3D world and tap in within, and then go in with alignment with ourselves, we can create our own reality. So,
that's Jane Roberts 101.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's you can't say, well, that doesn't exist, like looking glass technology, remote viewing, astral projection, and all this other shit. Like it's there, it's capable within, but you've just got to like break down all those layers and get access to it. And I always keep going back to, that's why we're faced with all of the chaos in this world today, like the 3D projection of it all. That's the distraction that keeps us distracted from the real secret within, to going within, because this is where all the answers are within. There's love in here, creation's in here, God's in here, and going back within, getting in tap with yourself will put an end to this whole bullshit, because that's how we win this, like this battle of good versus evil. That's what they're trying to, that's how they're trying to disconnect us. That's why they're trying to take our souls now, to.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's the whole game, right?
Yeah.
100%. That's good that you know.
Yeah.
See, I know it's a lonely world. Never to live with that and walk around. I know it sucks. I know it sucks. Believe me.
Yeah.
I understand the whole situation, because people are having enormous loneliness over here, because they think they're alone, and they think that they don't have the ability to talk to anybody. People are afraid to talk to each other.
Yeah. Well, that's why I started this sort of channel. Like last year, I reached out and tried to tell people and warn people, like through Instagram, and then I was getting censored. And then so I took my own channel, and it's real hard to steer people in the right path. Like we're having this conversation because you're saying, or everything about exactly what I see, you know what I mean? So that kind of ties in, but like, just trying to show other people as well that this is happening too. Like, and it's
you suggest it. You never tell them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's up to you when you're ready. It's up to you when you're ready as well. Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's context. It's like doing an LSD trip. You want to be in the right context before you do that. You don't want to do it like, in the back of a police car, or a place where you get your car fixed. Scene, setting, timing is the place to open up somebody's mind to new information. Because it's just a possibility that you may need to look at when you're ready.
That's it. And when they are ready, they can come here and tune in and get all the answers they want.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, James, that was great. Thank you for doing this, and I will put all the links, for anyone to contact you or listen to your Spotify. I'll put them in the description on YouTube there. And I'll probably break this video up in small clippets, but I'll put the whole thing on my YouTube. But I've got a backup channel. I'll break the clips down
the last time I did an interview, I did. A friend of mine called me because I just started to like talk on radio and started to come out of the cave, so to speak.
Yeah.
I didn't even last on YouTube for an hour. I did an interview called the battlefield of the 21st century, the brain, which is where the battlefield is, right?
Yeah.
And the thing didn't even get up. Was taken down on YouTube in less than an hour.
Oh wow! Okay, maybe I might. Maybe I might have put it on YouTube.
I don't know what happened. I might. You change the language, you change the algorithms.
Exactly, and not only that, they're already writing history now. So
you got it. So well, thank you very much for having me. And I'm my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Australia. I know this is the big moment for you. So we are with you. We are with you 100%.
Yeah. Okay, James. Thanks very much, and enjoy your time. Cheers, pal. Speak again.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.